Is there any way I can fix my relationship with my dad, even though he disowned me and made it clear he wants nothing to do with me? I'm 26 female. My mom is 45 and dad is 46. It's going to be a long and harsh ride, but I'm okay with being cussed, abused, cursed, because I very much deserve and numb to them after going through this much. Never in my life have I thought I'd be in this place. My life is a mess right now. I'm the only child of my parents. They met when they were as young as 16 and had me when my mom was 19 and dad 20. That was an unplanned pregnancy. My father is no less than a man any woman would want to be with. He cooked, worked, did everything, literally kissed the ground my mom walked on. I never thought him of being unreasonable or anything negative. He was a family man, but someone you'd live to be with. My mom is cool too. She was always there for me and helped me out however she can. My dad wanted to have more kids, but my mom didn't. Never told me why. When I was 16, mom was 35 then, my dad had an accident and became bedridden for 7 months. Though we never had to worry about finances, I studied at a private school. We are not from the States, but still it costs a lot where I'm from. There were bills, so my mom got a job and the following months she was in my dad's shoes. She did everything, and I too helped her out with chores sometimes. Here's the kicker. She met someone and became emotionally involved. One day, dad was bedridden for 5 months at that point, if I remember right. She came to my room and silently broke down crying after my dad dozed off. She told me she likes someone from work. She isn't attracted to my dad. This whole ordeal is too much for her. She has needs too. She showed me her text messages and told me about the guy. He was 26 at the time. They were flirting. I was young at that time. Seeing her break down broke my heart. I wasn't close to my dad as much as I was to my mom because my mom was the one to spend more time with me than my dad at the time. I know it sounds stupid, but I was a teenager then. I told her I understood and I'd cover for her. She began coming home later. We both told dad it was just her work. I never got involved until one day my mom told me she wanted me to meet and discuss a very important topic. We went out and I met that guy for the first time. He was a creep. Shaggy clothes and nothing like my dad. I don't even know why would my mom choose this a-hole over my dad. We sat down at a fancy dinner place and my mom told me she was expecting a baby. I was like, what? They had the audacity to kiss right in front of me. I was pathetically disgusted by them. I told them what did they planned. She told me she doesn't know. She wants to keep this baby, but she loves my dad too. It was an awkward time and we came home that night. We talked that night and she said she wants to keep the baby. I again naively chose to keep my mouth shut. So after this, my mom drops the news to my dad that she's pregnant. And my dad is delighted but visibly worried, as finances are still in the question. So in the next 2 months, he begins to do exercise and therapy so he could go to work again. Even after doctor said he still needs time. He resumes work and put my mom into the stay-home mom position like before. Her affair was short-lived. When my brother was born, my dad didn't sign the birth certificate. He bought a set of paper but refused to tell me what it is. Mom was still in C-section and he never told me what happened. He refused to acknowledge my brother. When my mom was brought home, he told her he wants a divorce. It hit my mom like a truck. She literally had a mental breakdown. She kept begging and crying hysterically. My dad was indifferent and told her he knows everything. Said he regrets ever having me because I'm an ungrateful and entitled selfish person just like her. They had an argument when I was holding my brother. He called her a whore and that she couldn't keep her legs closed and wants him to raise the child of infidelity. My mom kept crying and begging for forgiveness. He packed up his bags and left. They got divorced, which took 8 months to be finalized. I don't know much details, but dad would pay spousal support for my mom and child support for me. Mom got the house, and beside this, everything was settled. He willingly gave away primary rights of me to my mom, even refused having weekends, just supervised visitations. He never once reached out to me. I reached out to him countless times throughout during and after divorce, but never did once he wanted to be involved in my life. When I turned 18, he called me once. I remember I was elated that day, but to my surprise, he was cold. He just told me he hopes I stay happy and that he forgives me for what I did, but can't never forget he was betrayed by his own blood. He told me he disowns me. It hit me hard, harder than I ever hoped. I remember I fell on the ground and cried. I called my mom names and that she ruined our family. I even cussed my brother, that he is a constant reminder of what she did, and I can't ever have a father again. After divorce, mom never really dated anyone. She got into depression and got into a crappy but decent paying job, rented out one of the rooms in the house to make ends meet. She still celebrated her wedding anniversary, cries sometimes. My brother often asks about his father, but I don't have an answer except for we don't have one. It's been 9 years since the divorce. Mom never really moved on. She occasionally hooks up but never thought of settling down. She thinks working for $60K a year job and getting rent from a single room is enough to make ends for the rest of our lives. My dad, on the other hand, got his life together. Started a business, remarried, and has a son. I often scroll his profile. He never accepted my friend/follow request and ignores my texts. But what I've learned is he's living a great life. I know I don't deserve to say it. I am much to blame as much as my mom for destroying our lives and my brother's lives. But I miss my dad. I miss him a lot. I miss the times we had as a family. I went through heartbreaks, graduation, I was in an accident, and I didn't have my dad beside me. It feels like my insides are screaming. I tried to meet him, but when he found out I wanted to meet him, he moved to another city. I had a son last year. He looks so much like my dad. I want to name him after my dad and I want him to meet him. I'll be getting married by the end of this year, and I want nothing more than my dad to walk me down. I messed up. I want him to scream at me, tell me I don't deserve to be his daughter. I want him to be angry, but I want him in my life. I want my dad. All these years and not a single day goes by I don't miss him. I've sent long emails explaining and apologizing, but no response. I met him once, November 2020. I walked up to him and said hi. He was with his son and wife. He looked up straight in my eyes and replied, "Who are you?" When I told him I was his daughter with tears in my eyes, he said he doesn't have one and walked away. I was with my fiancé. He consoled me. My dad is by no means a bad person. He did everything any normal person in his shoes would. I know I don't have the right to apologize or even ask him for anything. But for once, I want him to acknowledge me. I just want him to acknowledge me for a single day, which is on my wedding. And I want him to look me in the eye and tell me I'm his daughter. Now for the comments. I know you were young, but I think it really crossed the point of no return when you saw him pushing himself against doctor's orders and possibly harming himself for a baby you knew wasn't his, and just said nothing. There is a level of wrong that even being young and in a bad position between your parents can't excuse, and that was it. Just stop. Everything you typed here is about you. You clearly don't care about his pain or what he wants or needs because you keep hurting him to try to get what you want. You're showing him every time you reach out and push his boundaries that you're still selfish, still only thinking of your want and still don't care about his feelings. All you're doing is making it clear he made a right choice for his own well-being. Just stop. Fact. She was trying to play it off as I was only a teenager and pretty stupid. Yeah, teenagers can be stupid and make mistakes, but they're not stone-cold-hearted and ruthless. How can you look at your dad every single day for months while he's literally bedridden, knowing what your mom is making him go through? She's making herself out to be the victim, but imagine knowing that your wife and daughter have no shred of empathy for you after you took care of them for decades. This sub is unreal. I've seen many posts from teenagers younger than you that outed a cheating parent and are praised for it. For some reason, everyone is now saying it's not your fault. You were just a kid. You were manipulated. I don't get it. You were 16 and knew it was wrong. You didn't tell your father. In fact, you helped your mother cheat. To top it off, you were complicit in trying to pass off another man's kid onto your father. You made your choices and your father made his. Now all of you have to live with them. I don't see myself as an innocent victim. I know damn well I had a part in it too. I participated in it and actively helped mom. I know my dad is hurting and very angry, and more than that, I know I don't have a tiny bit of right to ask for forgiveness for what I did. I wish just for one single day he can forgive me and be my dad. I want him to acknowledge me just for once. He won't. From the sounds of it, this is something that he's going to take to his grave. And if I were you, I think you'd be better off no longer trying, because it's just hurting you. There may come a point, of course, when he does come to make contact, but that has to be on his own terms. And at that point, you have to decide what you want to do about it. Your mother has a screw loose. What in the world was she thinking? Talking to her underage child about her sex life with another man, showing texts, and trying to get you to cover for her? She should have never tried to recruit you or put you in the middle of that. You're right, but I guess everyone has their own issues. I don't blame my mom for what she did. I also don't blame my dad for what he did. My mom got carried away and essentially destroyed her family. I never would forgive her for that, but I can't cut her off from my life. Because I lived with her for 5 years after divorce, from 17 till 22, during which I saw how remorseful she was. It was only when I moved out at 23 she finally tried to move on by hooking up, but even then she couldn't. She was overcame with grief. I don't blame my mom for what she did. You should. She did a lot. Forced you to take on a massive secret, abandoned her sick husband, cheated on him and tried to pass off another man's baby as his. Go get therapy with your brother and try to move on from your father. Even though you were only 16, your actions killed your father's love for you. And unfortunately, you have to accept that. Do you have anyone else that could possibly give you away at the wedding? No one. We are expats. My father got a job here and thus we settled down. We are originally from Syria. It was just us, me, mom and dad. Then he left us. Mom got into crippling depression. We don't have any family here. He's ended your relationship and move on. Let him move on. You need to move on as well. This is the best thing for all parties. I guess you're right. I'll try. Thank you. Last story. I'm happy my sisters got their karma after hiding my husband's affair. I don't know where to start. The story happened 13 years ago. I've been previously married to my ex-husband. Let's call him John. We've met in college and immediately hit it off. I thought this man was the love of my life, my soulmate, the father of my future children. Boy, I was wrong. 3 years into our relationship, he proposed. I said yes because I loved him with all of my heart. Looking back, it was the biggest mistake of my life. After being married for a year, I got a random message while laying on my couch and eating. I checked it, and it was from a woman named Lisa. She started apologizing and talking about how she was my husband's girlfriend. My heart sank, and I almost choked on my food. She started swearing up and down that she never knew he was married, that she only found out recently when he confessed to her and wanted to break things off because he was feeling guilty about cheating on me. I was destroyed and started crying. So that's why he's been so loving these days. That's why he started taking me out a lot. I realized a lot of red flags while rethinking my entire marriage. I decided to confront him when he got home. He tried to deny it at first, but started crying after confessing. He said he wanted to fix things and to go to marriage counseling. I immediately declined. You're the one who ruined our marriage. Why am I supposed to go? I started packing my bags while he cried, but your sisters know. That made my heart drop. Basically, my 2 sisters knew about his affair but didn't tell me because he wanted to fix things. I didn't know how I managed to drive my car without crashing. I was filled with anger, rage, sadness. At least I slapped the living crap out of that bastard before leaving. Once I got to my sister's house, I started screaming about how could they do this to me. I'm their sister. They tried to calm me down, but it made me angrier. They said I should just get over it and let my husband fix his mistake. At that moment, I saw red. I pulled my sister's hair. Then she begged me to let go, but I didn't. My other sister pulled me away and I proceeded to slap her. I was so angry. How could they take my husband's side? I'm the one who got cheated on and betrayed by my sisters. Our parents died when we were young, so our aunt raised us until she passed away. That's why they're the only family I have. And I got betrayed by them? I left the city, divorced and heartbroken, moved to another state to start a new life. I quit my job to start a new one in the city. That's where I met my now husband, Mike. He was so sweet to me, which I didn't think much of. I thought he treated everyone the same, but he didn't. He was talking normally to other coworkers, but was sweet to me. I developed a crush on him, but got scared my feelings would get hurt again. It was a shock when he was the one who confessed and asked me to be his girlfriend. I hesitated but said yes. We started dating for 3 years and they were the best years of my life. He helped me heal a lot from my previous betrayals. We got married and had 2 beautiful girls. I love my family so much. My husband is the best and my daughters are the sweetest. They're the best thing that happened to me. We've been together for 10 years, married for 7. As for my ex-husband, he got recently divorced after cheating on his wife. I wasn't shocked, but I felt bad for his wife. The bastard tried contacting me and crying about how it was the biggest mistake of his life, but I blocked him. I still have my old email and I forgot about it. My 2 sisters contacted me there too. One got dumped by her boyfriend after he cheated on her and kicked her out of their apartment. The other also got cheated on, and her husband stole her car to run away with his affair partner. Me and my husband read the email together and started laughing. I'm happy they're getting their karma. Now they know how I felt. They wanted me to help them and to reconcile, but I just wrote "get over it" and blocked them. I don't need garbage in my life. I only need my husband and daughters. I'm so thankful and grateful for my family. God bless them. I got to live happily while the people who betrayed me are miserable. To be honest, I'm glad my ex cheated. If it wasn't for his infidelity, I wouldn't have met my wonderful husband. God, I love that man so much. Karma always make an appearance at the right time. We really cannot choose our own family, and blood's definitely not always thicker than water. So happy for you that you found your person. Damn, the women in your family have had it rough. And so did your ex's second wife. But congrats on having an awesome, happy family now. Can you imagine taking the bastard husband's side over their own sister? How did they both agree to this? My brother-in-law would have lost a limb if he did that. My kids would be in so much trouble if they sided with person that cheated on their sibling. I don't care how old they get me. I didn't raise a troop of butt monkeys. If my sister would have found out my husband was having a secret affair, I would have found out immediately upon seeing him afterwards because I would have asked, "Husband, why are you castrated?" I'm sorry your sisters betrayed you, shaking my head. If I knew my sister's husband was having an affair, I'd tell her the second I found out, even if it meant calling her in front of him. Karma's a bitch, and I'm glad they got what was coming to them while you were getting the happiness you deserve. Am I the a-hole for kicking my ex out of my son's birthday and throwing out the gift she got for him? My ex and I, 33 male, broke up almost 2 years ago. We had been trying to have kids, but couldn't because of my infertility. It was just very disheartening for me. My ex wanted to keep trying, but it was just too painful. I told her that I wanted to stop for now. Not stop forever, but to give me some time to grieve the fact that I'd never be able to father kids of my own before we looked into other avenues. She didn't want to wait any longer and broke up with me. A couple months later, I had a drunken one-night stand with my son's mother. To my surprise, she got pregnant. And yes, we made sure he was in fact my biological child because I never thought this could ever happen. He was a beautiful miracle. But my son's mother unfortunately passed when he was 4 months old because of issues with COVID. Ever since I've been a single father, my ex has tried to make contact. I don't want to have any contact because my life is different, and there's no place for her anymore. Her biggest advocate has been my sister, because we were together for years and broke up due to the kids' conflict. And apparently now that I have a child, we could make it work. We celebrated my son's first birthday 2 weeks ago. My family and his mom's family were there. My ex found out, and I'm sure through my sister or someone else in my family. She brought a gift for my son, but I didn't even let her come in. We had an argument at the door because she would not leave. My ex was trying to convince me to let her stay so she could meet my son and we can talk about things. I already knew why she wanted to, because she feels like she could take his mom's place on his life, and that's not gonna happen. She eventually did leave, but I was pretty mad at that point. My ex wanted to leave the gift for him. Well, she left it at my door, so I just threw it away. He got plenty of other gifts anyways. Because this happened in front of everyone, my ex and sister think I was the a-hole for humiliating her in front of not just my family, but also my son's mom's family. It would have been less chaotic to have taken her to the side and had a private conversation, so she could have slipped out without anyone noticing. On top of that, she found out I got rid of her gift, which they think I was an a-hole for because that was meant for him, and it didn't give me the right to throw out something that belonged to my son. I'm still bitter towards my ex for how things ended, and seeing her made me react that way. Because it was out of anger and hate for her, I'm wondering if I'm the a-hole for how the whole thing was handled, or was I the right? Now for the top comments. She crashed at a party uninvited. Who gave her the dates and location? Your sister? And then got upset that she was thrown out. Screw that noise. Not the a-hole. You crash a party, you get what's coming to you. She keeps saying it wasn't her. I'm not sure I believe that. My ex and sister think I was the a-hole for humiliating her in front of not just my family, but also my son's mom's family. I would not believe her either, OP. But the fact that you humiliated her in front of your son's mom's family? Would they not feel uncomfortable with a literal stranger coming in and trying to take on a mother role for your son on his first birthday with no notice? I mean, do they honestly think your ex would have been welcomed by them? Not today, home. Your ex is obviously obsessed with you even 2 years later. The birthday party behavior is over the line. You also need to have a serious discussion with your sister and make clear that if she keeps interfering in your life, by supporting your ex's not job behavior, you will cut her out of you and your son's lives. Finally, also make it clear to your ex that the stalkerish behavior verging on restraining order territory. If she doesn't stop, get one. She was only this way after finding out he had a baby and his mom was no longer in the picture. Now she feels like we could have what we were trying for before our breakup, which isn't going to happen. I limited how much I talked to my sister when she didn't leave it alone. And the only reason she was invited is because my family told me she's still his aunt, and our conflict shouldn't have to affect the relationship. Well, it's affecting it now. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband's brother he should reconsider his decision to adopt? My brother-in-law was adopted. He came from what we call a broken home, and it's affected his personality. He always wanted and planned to have kids with his ex-wife, but she turned out abusive, and he was barely able to escape from her with mine and my husband's help. He was devastated and kept saying his future and family ended before it was started, but we assured him he was lucky he didn't have kids with his ex and got out easily. He's now 35, single and lives alone, and has been talking about adoption a lot lately. Yesterday, he visited and brought it up again. I didn't feel he was ready despite saying that he was. I told him he is a product of an affair that ruined 2 families, and that he had a rough and stable childhood that created some serious damages, manifesting in a number of mental health issues that he hasn't worked on. And so I don't think adoption is a good idea, especially given his feelings around that, and he should really reconsider his decision. He looked at me shocked, but I told him not to take this personally because I was just pointing out that it's not fair to subject an innocent child to his mental health issues. In other words, I just don't think he's ready to be anybody's dad. He became quiet all of a sudden, then took his phone and key and said that I was rude and hurtful, then left and shut the door behind him. My husband asked what happened and why his brother left. I told him about the conversation I had with him, and he went off on me saying I messed up, and that this was none of my concern and I just made his brother feel worthless and incapable. I said no, I was just making sure he's ready, but he said I don't get to decide if he's ready or not, and told me I had to call his brother and apologize to him for the rude crap I said, but I declined because I don't think I was wrong for telling the truth as it is. We had an argument and he isn't speaking to me now. I understand how brother-in-law might have felt, but I was just giving my opinion on this matter and a bit of advice. I told him he is a product of an affair that ruined 2 families. You're the a-hole for that comment and other reasons. He, the baby at a time, did not ruin those 2 families. They'd also stepped out on their marriages and had affairs did. Let's not blame babies for something that they have literally no control over. Agree, Opie's the a-hole. But I don't think Opie's blaming him for ruining the families. Opie said affair that ruined 2 families. Opie said the affair ruined the families, and therefore the brother-in-law has some mental health issues and traumatic childhood being the product of the affair that he should process/get in check before adopting. Fair. I see what you're saying. I just think that is an incredibly cruel thing to say to someone who is going through a mental health crisis. Opie could have gone about it in a way that expressed their concerns, but also built up brother-in-law, not tear him down. So this is what you sound like. I think you're going to be a lousy father because you come from 2 broken homes. But don't take it personally. Oh, and I wasn't even asked my opinion, but I thought I'd give it anyway. You're the a-hole. Totally agree. Opie opened her big trap and gave her opinion when it wasn't even asked for. Opie seems to think if you come from a broken home, you're a lousy parent. But I assume Opie came from a stable home. Think your parents would be ashamed they raised such a judgmental and rude a-hole. You're the a-hole. I was just giving my opinion on this matter and a bit of advice. If my husband had given this opinion to someone I cared about, I'd divorce him. In a sub full of people being a-holes, that may well be the rudest thing I've ever heard someone say. You can talk about his childhood all you want, but it's clear someone raised you wrong too. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not telling my husband I went into labor? I, 32 female, have 3 kids. Kate, 12 female, Luke, 4 male, and I just gave birth to my beautiful baby girl, Valerie. My husband and I have been married for 5 years and I love him, but he's a little bit of a mama's boy. My mother-in-law hates me. I grew up in a richer neighborhood and my parents left me with quite a lot of inheritance money when they passed, about 13 million in assets. Mother-in-law, however, was a single mother with 2 sons and had a lot of trouble just paying for basic needs. She worked her way up and I think she's very strong. But she doesn't like me and thinks I'm pretentious because apparently I had everything handed to me. Well, when I got pregnant with Luke, we decided to name him after my husband's father who died when my husband was only 3. Mother-in-law was through the roof when we told her. But ever since I fell pregnant again with Valerie, she has been adamant that we would name her Francine after her late grandmother. My husband wants to as well, but I don't. Instead, I wanted to name her Valerie. And not just because I like the name, but also because when I was 17, the song Valerie by Amy Winehouse came out and me and my family would sing it all the time. At family gatherings, it was always first on a speaker. Car rides and just in general, it was basically our song. Well, my older sister and my parents passed away in a house fire 3 years ago and I missed them terribly. We were all a very close family, so it hit me and my younger sister, 27, very hard. When I suggested this to my husband and mother-in-law, they actually got mad at me because they wanted it to be Francine. I suggested we name it Valerie with a middle name Francine or Francine with a middle name Valerie, but they weren't happy with either. During my last month of pregnancy, my husband has become more angry at me. I finally snapped and said that I wasn't going to name my child an ugly name that I don't like for the sake of a woman that doesn't even like me. He said that I was being unbelievable and that I had insulted a strong, independent mother. I immediately apologized, but he left to his mother's house. 2 days later, I couldn't reach him at all, and on the 3rd day, I went into labor. Kate kept saying she would text my husband, and I told her not to bother her. After hours of labor and awful pain, I gave birth to my baby girl and named her Valerie with Diane as the middle name. Diane was my mother's name. Then about 2 hours after I gave birth, my younger sister was able to reach mother-in-law to get the message to my husband. When they came in, my husband was raging and yelling at me, calling me a pretentious backstabbing witch. And my mother-in-law was more upset about the name. I think this might be the end of my marriage, but we can still change her name if we really wanted to. So am I the a-hole? Should I change the name? Now for the comments. One thing I've learned about mama's boys is that they will never, ever, ever choose you over their mom. Get out of this situation. It's better to be on your own than with someone like him. Not stay home. My ex's mom was freaking psychotic. The first time she met my mom, she barely spoke to her. I'm thinking, oh, they're both nurses. Their kids are dating. This'll be great. Nope. She sat there freaking moping the entire time and sipping her 5th drink. Should make him leave my place at 3 in the morning and drive 40 minutes to her house because she wanted a bag of chips and didn't want to get out of bed. And you know what? He did it. I should have left then. Not stay home. You chose Valerie in honor of your tragically killed parents and sister. How in holy hell does he think that less important than commemorating his great-grandmother whom he probably never knew? You're financially independent, so this should indeed be the end of your marriage. You don't want your children growing up thinking it's okay to be treated the way you're being treated. All I'm going to say is that your son was named for his relative who passed. So it's only fair your daughter was named for yours. The damage is already done. Keep the name. Sounds like he was trying to guilt and manipulate you anyway. He left and ignored you while you were nearing your due date, and then screams abuse at you. Honey, contact a lawyer and leave. You don't want this man to be involved any more than necessary in your life, trying to strong-arm you into getting his way after you offered compromises. Stay firm on the name. If you cave, you are setting precedent that he will always get his way if he is a bully. Not stay home. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my sister's boyfriend to meet my son? My 26 female sister, 28 female, began dating a guy in November of 2021. I'm not sure exactly how they met, but I gave her a name at first that wasn't real. He eventually told her his real first name, Miles, and a couple weeks later gave her his real last name. I thought this was sketchy, but it's not my business and I figure I can just keep my distance. 2 weeks after they met, Thanksgiving rolls around and I'm hosting it at my house. She tells me she's bringing Miles to Thanksgiving. Doesn't ask, just tells me. I was like, I don't know. I really don't want the first time I meet this guy to be at my house. I bring up the name change thing, but she's upset with me anyways. My mom and dad take her side and I end up giving in and letting him come. He doesn't do anything too weird at Thanksgiving, but he has a lot of outlandish stories to share. I am nice enough to him anyways. I decide that since my family all seem to like him, that maybe I'm just not giving him a fair shot. I decide to go to lunch with both of them a month or so later. Within 5 minutes, he says to me, "You know your grandpa has dementia, right?" I was shocked. My sister sat there nodding her head, and their evidence was my sister told him something and he forgot and asked a question about it the next day. Mind you, this man is 80 years old, but is in otherwise great shape. He then proceeds to ask me about our family business finances, how much we make each year, just inappropriate questions that are not his business. Last month, I tell my cousins, who also work at family business, the type of increase he was making, and they ban him from the office. He was coming in for hours in the middle of the day. I take my cousin's side, obviously. My dad tells me I need to mind my own freaking business, and my sister is furious with me and avoids me for a while. When we talk again, I basically tell her that I cannot trust her boyfriend and don't want to be around him. And I cite the comment about our grandpa in my explanation. She says to me, "Wow, you're really hung up on the dementia thing, aren't you?" Oh, did I mention I've been pregnant this whole time? Last week, I gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. I'm starting to allow close family to come by the house and see him. She texts me and says, "Me and Miles are coming to see baby." I tell her you can come, but he is most definitely not allowed in my house or anywhere near my son. She tells me, "Fine, I'm not coming to see him either." And I respond, "Okay, that's your choice." Now my parents are mad at me for shutting her out and not allowing her to see my son, even though I specifically stated she was welcome on her own. I thought I was in the right, but my parents are just making me feel crazy. Am I the a-hole for drawing this boundary? This endless conflict is starting to wear me down and I'm wondering if I should just give in to keep the peace. What do y'all think? Not the a-hole. What justification has he given for providing fake names? Seems sketchy and way too interested in family wealth. Keep him away from your baby, out of your house, and try to keep records of any sketchy things you hear/see with him. He said his mom is in the FBI and he was protecting her identity. BS. This made me laugh so hard. This is what serial killers say in every true crime podcast or show I've ever seen. And trust me, no one cares about government agents as FBI anymore. I work for the government, and FBI isn't as prestigious as it used to be. In fact, we're all seen as the enemy. Not stay home and reinforce your boundary. Not stay home. Yep, your grandpa's definitely got dementia. I'd mind no medical degree can spot it just that easily. Incidentally, how much did you say he was leaving all of you in the will? And is it cash or property? If your parents are really that desperate to marry your sister off despite all the red flags, or are already all in on whatever business opportunity Miles has pitched to them, that's their issue to deal with. Yours is focusing on your new family, and you set the guest list. Period. I agree. I'm worried about OP's sister's safety if even her own parents are giving this potential grifter a pass on so many flags. Not stay all OP, but please stick to your guns until you are 100% positive this dude is safe. Keep your family protected. Relationship advice. Updated. Manipulative girlfriend, 29 female, was pressuring me, 29 male, to adopt a baby. Background. My girlfriend, we'll call Megan, and I have been dating for the past 6 months. It's by far the happiest relationship either of us have ever had. Initially, I pushed back when she suggested moving in together, but we got a place together in February. I'm incredibly happy with the decision, and we're very grateful to have each other right now. The past several weeks at home have been an unexpected blessing for me. As a freelance graphic designer, I continue working remotely and also finally have time to work on a passion project I've been putting off for years, a large paper sculpture. Megan feels lost. She poured everything into her career and quickly advanced to head manager at an upscale resort. But the coronavirus has furloughed her, leaving her without a job for the first time since she was 14. She says every day feels painfully empty, and I feel guilty that this has been so hard for her and easy for me. On to the issue. A week ago, Megan said she had news she thought would excite me. She proposed that start trying to get pregnant. She feels now is the perfect time because everything is so monotonous, and a baby would be wonderful to look forward to. I was pretty shocked by this because kids have come up multiple times in our relationship, and we had always agreed that neither of us would ever want them. She says that her priorities have shifted, given everything that's going on. I was starting to empathize with this major change in priorities, but then she added that when the lockdown is over, she plans to return immediately to her 80-hour-per-week work schedule. At this point, she'd want me to take on the bulk of parenting responsibilities because my job is more flexible. This upset me, and I told her that this might not be a good idea. She suggested that my reluctance might just be a symptom of my commitment issues, which have caused problems in previous relationships. She pointed out that I had second thoughts about moving in together, but that turned out to be a great decision. Working on my sculpting project has been so fulfilling, and I worry that a child might interfere. Megan says I need to consider her needs too. I'm sincerely trying, but I'm at a loss as to how we can balance both our needs. She would no doubt make an amazing mother because she's extremely dedicated to anything she sets her mind to. I want her to be happy, but I don't want to make a decision I might regret. Am I letting my fear of commitment hold me back? Now for the top advice before reading the first update. Does Megan know how to make a baby? Does she know they don't come out right away? Follow-up question. Does Megan know that after quarantine ends, there will still be a baby? Horrendous idea. You've been together 6 months. The idea is coming out of boredom and lack of direction, not an actual well-thought-out plan and care. Neither of you are ready for this. Most gyno offices are actively warning people against getting pregnant right now. There's so much unknown. Partners aren't allowed into sonogram appointments. Women are giving birth without their partner. Babies are being put in quarantine. Parents can see their babies after birth. Is this really what you want to face with your new girlfriend because she's feeling a bit lost? This is a rough time on all of us. Having a baby in reaction to that, especially in your scenario, is a monumentally terrible idea. I appreciate your thoughtful comment. The lack of medical support is something we have talked about and take seriously. How flipping seriously could you be taking it if you're entertaining the idea of having a child that you don't really want under those medical conditions just so your girlfriend will feel less bored? How is this even something you're considering at all in any way, shape, or form? I wouldn't say that your commitment issues are the problem. The emotional manipulation on her part is a huge red flag though. The lockdown could last a long time, but she could be back at work in a month or two. So what then? This is a seriously irrational decision and not one that should be decided in one day because she's bored. I don't want to make it seem like she's manipulative because she's a great partner and we communicate well. Not sure where you're located, but we're in the US, and projections are that the hospitality industry is going to take a long time to even start to recover. Now for the first update. A month ago, we found out it's a boy. My girlfriend was devastated because she's always imagined raising a strong and confident girl. I tried to comfort her by suggesting we try again after this pregnancy, but she didn't like the idea of getting pregnant again so soon. After a few days, she concluded that adoption would be a better solution.
She says she's really happy about this decision because it guarantees us a girl, and it allows us to start the adoption process while she's still out of work. I'm excited to become a father, but 2 newborns feels overwhelming. That said, throughout our relationship, my fear of commitment has always created problems. I was reluctant at first to move in with Megan or to try for a baby, but she inspired me to face my fears, and she ended up being 100% right. I love her passion and enthusiasm, and I know that she's going to be an amazing mother because she can do anything she sets her mind to. How can I approach this adoption decision rationally instead of letting my fear of commitment cloud my judgment? I want to have a mature conversation with Megan that communicates my fears while prioritizing our family. I remember your last post. This is terrifying. Your girlfriend didn't help you overcome commitment fears. She manipulated you into moving in together after just 12 weeks of dating, manipulated you into thinking having a baby to break the monotony of quarantine was a good idea. It is a terrible idea. And is now trying to manipulate you into adopting because she doesn't want a boy. How do you not see how manipulative and crazy she is? She's bored in quarantine, so she thought having a baby was a good idea? She wants to put herself and a baby at risk by having to be in doctor's offices, the hospital, etc. She thinks 2 infants is a good idea? My dude, I'm very worried for you. This woman is totally irrational, and you don't see it. Dude's pretty stupid and careless if he already creates a baby with someone he only lived together for 3 months. It's my understanding that newborn babies are the most sought-after age group and in high demand. You 2 are not married. You've only been together a year. This is your first baby. I don't think a reputable adoption agency would even entertain your application. Especially for the reason, could you imagine? Social worker. Okay, I see you 2 are expecting a baby already. What brought you to adoption as well? Did you want twins or something? Them. Well, the problem is she's growing a boy, and well, gee, we just really wanted a girl. WTF? Okay, they probably won't allow Get to adopt while pregnant. This is probably hormones talking. How sad for your son that she's barely interested and really wants to replace him. But like I said, it's probably fear and hormones talking. When she sees her son, hopefully her whole view of the world will change and be beautiful. Also, maybe have a counselor lined up and ready to go. I'm worried about postpartum depression hitting since she has this preconceived notion of what she wants. Actual life may hit pretty hard. Edit. I read your previous post. This girl sounds incredibly manipulative. Oh lord. Reading his last post knowing that she actually convinced him to get her pregnant is so eerie. Now for the final update. My girlfriend Megan had her heart set on adopting a baby girl, and I was trying to be considerate of her needs. I somehow saw a strong future with her despite all the crap I now recognize as manipulation. Last week, she told me that she decided on a name for the baby, Jessica. And all of a sudden, it hit me. Yes, she used the word decided. She never even considered that I should have any say whatsoever. I thought back to all the comments in my previous post telling me that Megan was manipulating me, steamrolling me, and gaslighting me whenever I needed my voice to be heard. Once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. 2 days after the baby name decision, I told Megan I was leaving and moved back home with my parents several hours away. Megan won't stop sending me angry, manipulative voicemails and texts. After the first few messages where I clearly stated my boundaries, I've chosen not to respond. It's just so toxic. An enormous weight has been lifted from me. I can finally focus on myself, and that's been so good for me. It was hard for me to hear RA's advice in my last post, but I can now say that I sincerely appreciate it. Now for closing comments. Good job, but she's still having your actual kid, and that means you are not done with her crap. Her being a psycho as she is, I doubt it's his kid. She sounds like the type who decided on someone to strap down for cash. Then she decided someone else would be better to give her a child. Despite all her faults, Megan is very hardworking and has made a successful career for herself, so I don't think it's money. If she was going for a rich guy, I don't think she would have picked me. Also, we've been quarantining rigorously since March, so it's basically impossible that she cheated. I work from home and she's out of work, so we've been in the same house pretty much 24/7. I think you're correct here that it wasn't about money. It was just about having someone around to fulfill whatever her wishes and desires were. Live-in partner after 3 months? Done. Try for a baby out of boredom after 6 months? Done. I'm really proud of you for stopping this before getting into an adoption together and taking yourself home. All of us here support you. But like everyone is saying, you cannot use being overwhelmed as an excuse not to lawyer up right now. It's like getting into a car accident and going, I'm in too much pain to deal with calling an ambulance and getting to a hospital. All that does is make things harder and more overwhelming later on. Ask your parents to sit down and do it with you if they're willing. But do not wait on this, friend. Good luck. Bro, what are you doing? I remember your last post, and man, you need to work on not being a pushover. She completely bodied you into 2 kids after living together for what was it, 8 to 10 months? As horrible as human being as she is, why did you bend to that? Lawyer up, get paternity test and freaking learn from this. I still remember the idea you pushed off confronting your fears. That made me cringe. Being committed and having 2 newborns isn't confronting anything. You need to do some serious soul searching too, my guy. It's a tough pill to swallow, but she absolutely punked you after dating for 12 months. Both of y'all have issues to work on. Good luck, my man. Thank freaking God, dude. I just started from the beginning and wanted to slap you several times. Really glad you're starting to see how flipping crazy this relationship is. Sad there is now a child involved, but better you guys break up now than later. Now for the next story. I, 35 male, deeply regrets manipulating my wife, female 34, into having children. I know it sounds bad, and I know we're not supposed to talk like this, but the biggest regret I have is having children. Our lives are ruined because of me, and I don't know where to go from here. My wife and I have been together 12 years, married 6. We have 2 kids, 2 female twins. We had agreed to be child-free very early on, but as we were getting closer to 30, I just became obsessed with the idea of having children. We were engaged, and I told her that I would not marry her unless we had at least 1 child. We broke up for a bit, but we found our way back to each other, and she agreed to 1. She agreed under certain conditions, the main one being that she didn't want to stay home with the child for any more time than it took her to heal. She had an amazing job that she absolutely loved, worked very hard to get, and was extremely well paid. I had a job that I also loved, but was not well paid. I'm in a field where there is a huge income disparity depending on what you do. I got to do what I loved because her job more than compensated financially. We had an amazing life and amazing relationship. We travel a lot in our country and internationally. We are both outdoorsy and active people, and we take camping/hiking/rock climbing vacations regularly. We make love a lot, tons of free income, a lot of financial security, and I messed it all up. My wife ended up pregnant with twins. They messed up the epidural, they messed up the C-section, and she had an extremely traumatic birth experience. Now almost 2 years down the line, she struggles with chronic pain and extreme postpartum depression. She can't work at all, not her job and not any other job. She can barely walk more than half an hour at a time without pain, and her mental state means that she absolutely shouldn't be responsible for patients. She went from a high-powered position to laying in bed and crying all day. I honestly don't think there's been a day since the birth that she hasn't cried. We haven't been intimate in more than 2 years. My mom moved in with us to help raise the kids, and she's old school and doesn't believe in mental health. She's not the nicest to my wife, and they're alone all day. There is no one else we can ask, and we can't afford other help. She's in therapy, she's on medication, we've seen all the doctors we can see. I went from low-stress job I loved to a higher-paying one I hate. I work 12-plus hours days and even weekends sometimes, and we are still struggling. I miss my old life so much. I miss my work and my friends, and above all, I so desperately miss my wife. Our children are being raised by my mom primarily. I spend as much time as I can with them, but I barely know them. I don't know what I was looking for when I wanted kids, but it certainly wasn't this. I don't blame them for anything, but I have a hard time bonding with them. My wife spends most of her time in our room and interacts with them when I'm there or during therapy. I don't think we're doing a good job with them. They're well cared for by my mom, well fed, happy and safe, but I don't think we are as involved as parents should be. I'm struggling and seeing a way out. Therapy is helping, but the progress is so slow. I don't really know what more to do right now. I feel so much hatred for myself. We had such a good life. It all went down the drain. And in the end, my wife is ruined physically and mentally for something she didn't even want in the first place. I'm not sure what advice I'm asking for. I'm not sure what else there is to do here. But if anyone has anything to offer, even nice words, it would be appreciated. All our friends distance themselves, and we literally have no one but each other. Now for the top advice. She's old school and doesn't believe in mental health. She's not the nicest to my wife, and they're alone all day. There is no one else we can ask, and we can't afford other help. She's in therapy, she's on medication. We've seen all the doctors we can see. Figure out a way for your wife to get different support. Example, an au pair, a mother's help. Any support is better than a toxic mother-in-law who doesn't believe in mental health and puts your wife down. Therapy is helping, but the progress is so slow. Joining a support group might help too. You aren't alone. There are quite a number of people who regret having kids. Your mother is likely part of the reason your wife is having a hard time recovering. How can your wife possibly recover if she has someone around all the time who is A, raising her kids, presumably making her feel inadequate as a mom, and B, someone who presumably makes her feel even more like that by invalidating her feelings and experiences? You say you have no other options, but you have to try to find one. Get your mom out of the house ASAP. I'm struggling and seeing a way out. There is your issue right there. You were looking for a way out when there isn't one. You struggle through this, not look to run away. Keep doing what you are doing with the therapy and keep working towards being better parents. Ditch your mom and figure out something else if she can't be supportive. It's extreme, but maybe there is a way out through giving a family member temporary guardianship or even adopting them out. For the kids' sake, they don't really have parents as it is. I think Opie is reaping what he sowed, but at the kids' expense. If they won't do that, they need to severely downgrade everything and hire help. He should see if his bank can give him financial advice. At least there would be a chance for mom to start recovering after the terrible mother-in-law is gone. Does she even want to stay married to you, or would she rather divorce you and live a life alone, seeing the twins part-time? What does she want? What does your wife need now? She is very important here. With just your income alone, plus your wife's new disability status, you might qualify for state-supported childcare. You are very strong against your wife. Be equally strong against your mom. Give her the same ultimatum. Talk to her firmly and tell her that you won't be her son, and she will have no grandkids if she cannot treat your wife kindly. Does your mom know what you have costed her daughter-in-law? Your wife cannot possibly heal with your mom there. Agree 100% with this comment. The wife's wishes need to come first, and if she wants a divorce, that needs to happen. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe